There might be no FNCS this season, but the pro players are still snaking each other. We have all new trios, including Mongrel, Bucky, Booga, and even more. There was a little bit of drama to get here, though, so I'll recap who the new trios are and why. I also want to talk about how Fortnite has fixed the tournaments going forward for this season. They are going to be so much better now. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before we talk about all the new trios, let's talk about why you should care, because tournaments actually matter again, or at least they're going to be enjoyable to watch. So this week's Trio Cash Cup Finals is going to have point-based matchmaking, which is essentially skill-based matchmaking. However many points you have, you verse other people on similar points. It's going to be way more entertaining to watch, and it's going to make the games way better. Last week, we had EU being like 540 points to qualify, which is just absurd. The best teams just dropping 30 and 40 bombs for the whole tournament. Anyone who was playing for placement and couldn't just drop 30 bombs didn't make the finals. The finals still ended up being stacked, but not as stacked as they would have been if we had the point-based matchmaking, which we now have. So huge W by Epic. Div 1 is already bad enough. I think there should be point-based matchmaking even when it's only Div 1 players, because you compare the top tier teams on each region to, like, you know, the bottom teams in Div 1, and there's a huge difference still. So having it be Div 2 and Div 1 makes that problem even worse. So Fortnite, big W's for listening to the community. Everyone was asking for this, so I'm really excited to say today's Cash Cup will have skill-based matchmaking. All right, let's jump in with the new trios, and there are a lot of them. I'll probably do it by region because we have quite a few in EU and quite a few in NA. Let's kick off with NA. So one of the biggest new trios we have is Muzz, Booga, and Rapid. This is locked in, confirmed as a new trio, not just for this season, not just for this Cash Cup. This is their plan to stick together into Major 3 to try to make it to LAN together. That's why I care so much about it. This isn't just a team playing together for fun for this season. It is actually a brand new trio. All three of these players have not made LAN. They're three of the favorites to qualify for LAN. They've made a new team, which means Muzz and Rise are no longer playing together. I'll get to who Rise is playing with in a second, and that means Booga and Rapid have dropped threats. Now, this is where it gets a little bit weird. Booga and Rapid have currently blocked each other. Now, this comes as quite a shock to me because they just announced their official trio today, and then it turns out that Booga and Rapid blocked each other today. So I thought this was an impression farm. I thought it was a troll. They're just doing it for content, but apparently, according to Rapid, Booga and Rapid mess around with each other a lot. They troll each other. They're still a trio, but they've currently blocked each other. And I don't know what this is about as well. We did have Muzz, so we had Muzz, Rapid, and Bolts playing the trio scrims yesterday. Booga was then playing with a different team, so maybe there's a bit of frustration of why was Booga not playing with the actual trio. I have reached out to Rapid. I was talking to him in my chat. It seems like it's not super serious. I don't think it's going to break up the trio over it, but it's pretty weird vibes to form a brand new trio for your last chance to qualify for LAN for three phenomenal players, and Booga and Rapid have each other blocked. So I don't know if Muzz is kind of involved in this one. I didn't really get Muzz's thoughts on it. I kind of didn't want to ask him, so it puts him in an awkward position. So Muzz hasn't made any comment on it. I guess we'll see what happens for the Trio Cash Cup. If for some reason this team doesn't queue up together, I guess it's one of the shortest teams in history. They lasted less than 24 hours and didn't play a single tournament, but I'm sure they'll sort it out. Apparently, it's just Booga and Rapid's relationship, and they like to troll each other a lot. Okay, so threats got dropped. Rise got dropped by Muzz. Obviously, they're going to play together now. That's pretty much a no-brainer. We have Rise threats, but they're rounded out by G-Money. I actually got to talk to Rise about his thoughts on G-Money. I jumped in a call with Rise and threats. They said G-Money, especially for his age, is actually super mature, and they're really enjoying the vibes of playing with him. G-Money's crazy. When he switched from control to mouse and keyboard, he has been a phenomenal player ever since. Had his chance to play with Kanata last season. Kanata talked about how, while he thinks that G-Money and OC are two of the best fighters on the region, Kanata just didn't have the time to be able to develop them into tier 1 players with having to hard IGL them. Now, Rise is known as one of the most experienced and one of the most hard IGLs in the game, meaning that basically he stays really on top of his players. You know, he likes to fight, but he doesn't like let them off the leash and go super crazy. Likes to tell them what to do and have a very structured early and mid game, and I think that's going to play perfectly into G-Money's strengths. And if Rise and Threats say they love getting along with him, they find him really fun to play with, I don't see why this trio couldn't dominate. I'm super excited to see how they go. Again, there are only 2 LAN spots left on NA, so that's already 2 teams I've talked about as brand new teams. Let's say that Muzz, Booga, Rapid, and G-Money, Rise, and Threats both get the next 2 LAN spots in Major 3. That means we're going to have huge names like Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx, and so many more missing out on LAN. There are only 2 spots, and a lot of new teams are forming. Now, speaking of Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx, Kanata is still in Korea. He's going to be for the rest of the season. So Bolts and Sphinx are actually playing the Cash Cup, only the Cash Cup, obviously, with Acorn. Now, if Acorn, Bolts, and Sphinx are playing it together, that means who is Aegis and Poyo playing with? Apparently, Aegis is not playing. Word on the street is Ages is not grinding right now. My man has taken a break during the Star Wars season. He's not locking in. He's not playing the tournaments with anyone. I guess he's just chilling out. I did talk about how in the last week, Acorn, Ages, and Poyo played together and got like 500th. So I am a little bit scared for the vibes of this trio going from playing together, and now Ages is just not playing. Acorn's not even trying to play with Poyo. He's playing with a completely different trio. Poyo is now playing with Ritual and Reet. But again, these two trios, Acorn, Bolton, Sphinx, and Ritual, Poyo, Reet, are not official trios, obviously. These are mostly LAN qualified players, so they're just messing around, having some fun, playing with whoever, trying to make a bit of money, but not locking in as an actual trio. So if you see these trios, these are not real trios, they're just for the tournament. But it does tell us a lot about what's going on. So Peterbot has not logged on the game for a few days now. People pointing out on Twitter, Peterbot has taken a few days off. He hasn't even got on the game at all. So I don't think Pete is playing tournaments this week. I was talking to Ritual, and it looks like Cold is also visiting family, so Cold is not going to be playing these tournaments. So Richie's just going to queue up with Poyo and Reet, try and make some money and have some fun. So a lot of our top tier teams are taking this Star Wars season pretty, pretty lax. They're kind of taking as a bit of a chance to have a holiday, which makes sense because there isn't a lot of time for it. But it is worth pointing out, with this season being a bit of a break season, we then go into the new season. We have 3 weeks of Cash Cups, presumably some kind of tournaments, Div Cups, whatever. Then we have Epic going on their 2-week summer break. They come back from that. There's only 3 days until FNCS starts. So for a lot of these teams who are taking this period pretty chill, there's not a lot of practice to be had before FNCS starts. It's not right around the corner, but because of that 2-week break, it really kind of messes things up. So we'll see how many pros maybe start to realize they can have that 2 weeks as a break. But then after talking to some of the pros, you don't want to have a 2-week break and then come back and instantly play FNCS. You want a bit of a break to refresh the mental, but not that close to FNCS. So I'm not really sure what this is going to mean for a lot of these teams who aren't playing together and aren't grinding. Well, guess we'll have to see. Moving on over to EU, we have Mongrel confirming he's going to be playing this week's Trio Cash Cups with Turtle and Titty again. Now, a lot of people, myself included, really enjoyed watching this trio play together. Their vibes seemed really good. They played solid. They made the Eval Cup finals. Unfortunately, didn't do particularly well in the finals, but Mongrel was having PC issues, all that. So I'm really excited to see this trio sticking together. It seems like Mongrel and Turtle are getting along really well at the moment. They're playing scrims together on stream. They're playing games together on stream. Titty obviously vibing with him, so he's going to play with them again as well. So no crazy swap ups there, but a team that we did see have a big swap up, and again, this is going forward for FNCS, at least that is the plan right now. We have iDrop, Thomas, and Sky. So Sky and Scroll have officially split. The Danish duo has been together now since, before last Globals. They've been together for a while now. They have officially split up. So iDrop now playing with Sky still, but picking up Thomas instead of Scroll. So I'm excited to see how this one plays out. I don't know where Scroll's going to end up. Phenomenal player. He has just started changing his keybinds, so I don't know if that is a factor of that. I think he's taking the Star Wars season as a chance to get off being the worst binds in Fortnite. I've talked about Scroll a bunch, but in case you guys don't know, he plays on mouse and keyboard like Combat Pro plays on controller, meaning that he has to select his builds, scroll through each of them individually, select them, and then place them, and then scroll through his weapons. Yes, it's as terrible as it sounds. I have no idea how Scroll is so good with those binds. He was slowly adding a few build and weapon binds in there over the seasons, but now he has actually changed up his binds, and he's no longer going to be scrolling through everything. So I don't know if maybe because of the teething process of that and the learning experience where he's going to be a little bit worse for a while, but better in the long run, was what led them to make this decision. I wasn't entirely sure, but iDrop, Thomas, and Sky is a very, very scary trio. It looks like iDrop is sticking with the Danes, so we have the one Norwegian double Danish trio again. Instead of Scroll, we now have a lot more experience with Thomas HD though, which is going to be a big factor in potentially qualifying for LAN. Now, there is a brand new trio, but I don't know whether they're going to be NA Central, EU, or potentially NA West. We have Bucky confirming he was going to go to NA West with Ocus and Craze, but now due to a bit of personal drama, which I'm staying out of, Bucky is now not playing with Ocus and Craze, and it looks like he's actually looking for one with none other than Dukes, the 3-time FNCS champion. So Dukes is coming back to the game. He was going to play last season with Mero, but couldn't queue up for the last chance qualifier because he didn't play the Div Cups. Dukes was super frustrated. He's now been grinding a fair bit behind the scene. I actually talked to him in my stream the other day, and he's been grinding a lot, and he's now looking for a trio as a solo, or he's looking for one with Bucky. Now, I don't know if this is like a permanent trio, and, Bucky and Dukes are going to try and run it up for FNCS, two of the OGs, but they are at least playing Cash Cups together, so I'm excited to see who they pick up. They're obviously going to play the Cash Cups on Dallas, as both of them live in Dallas, but I don't know if they're going to maybe fulfill the plan to go over to West to try to get a LAN spot. It would be super cool to see Dukes, playing to try to get to LAN. Also, I did want to talk about on NA Central being even more competitive than we thought. It now looks like we're going to potentially have King's trio from Brazil and Alex's trio from OCE heading to NA Central next season. There are only rumors right now. Their teams are both talking about whether they're going to travel over. Again, I don't know if their plans have changed, but I have heard a lot of people talking about this. I've had both players involved from each trio talk to me personally about it. So NA Central could be looking really, really stacked for Major 3. Now, remember, both those teams don't need a LAN spot. If they get in a top 3 position, the spots will roll down. But it is worth mentioning that they are going to take probably good drop spots because they have the LAN spot. So you've already got 5 teams that are qualified on NA Central. There's only 2 spots left. And if you now have 2 more LAN players come over, that means there's 7 teams playing who have drop spots already, I imagine, claimed because of their LAN spots. You don't want to contest a team that's already in LAN when you aren't in LAN. So all these big new trios I'm talking about trying to fight for only 2 LAN spots, they're going to have to do it against 7 teams that basically you just don't want to try to contest because they could completely grief you. So NA Central is looking very, very spicy for Major 3, and I'm actually scared for quite a few of these trios trying to get the LAN spot. It's going to be really, really tough.